The Chuckling Whatsit by Richard Sala, and this is a new edition, hardback edition, published by Fantagraphics. My first Richard Sala book, but this is actually a recommendation from quite some time ago. I remember watching a video from Anshuman from For the Love of Comics. I said from For the Love of Comics. He is from the Love of He is for the Love of Comics, for God's sake. Can't talk. Anyway, For the Love of Comics is a big fan of Richard Sala. And when I watched the video, I think back in 2020, he was looking at a lot of his books because Richard Sala passed away in that year, if memory serves. And this came up, and it was the book that I saw, and I was like, I wouldn't mind getting into that. I wouldn't mind looking at it because it looked interesting. It looked right up my street, but it was hard to get. But then Fantagraphics released recently this hardback version of it, and so I snapped it up, got it, read it, and now I'm talking to you about it. Simple as that, really. The Chuckling Whatsit is, like I say, by Richard Sala, written and drawn by Richard Sala, and it is an astounding book. I had that feeling of, like a LucasArts game, like Monkey Island or Grim Fandango, that type of farcical kind of almost eerie adventure that's slightly off, that's always got a bit of humour, but it's got an interesting story that keeps you hanging on, but then the story gets super convoluted, but you still love it and still enjoy it. That's what the Chuckling Whatsit is like, or at least that's how I felt it was like. Anyway, it starts off with a gentleman knocking on the door at night, looking to find an outsider artist and a person who is making and creating what he called Whatsits. And Whatsits are like these little, kind of like voodoo doll type things, but yeah, I won't really talk too much about them because I don't want to spoil too much of this book in general, because it is a bit of a mysterious detective drama type thing going on, but it is very much kind of humour based as well. There's a lot of humour going on. The artwork, for a start, is phenomenal because it is so weird and out there. There's no straight lines really, it's all off kilter, it's all got that kind of, again, you probably would compare it to the big guns, Tim Burton and that type of idea of kind of form, but it is very much its own kind of thing. I think it has got that feel to it, it has got that gothic, weird, eerie feel to it. When he finds this outsider artist, the outsider artist has hung himself, and instantly we go to 15 years later, and people who write the astrology column for the local Guardian are being murdered. Many years previous, the Gull Street Ghoul was going around killing, and he's kind of almost like a Jack the Ripper type character, but he hasn't been seen for many, many years. And now he's made a resurgence, but he's killing exclusively people who are writing the astrological column for the local newspaper, or at least that's what he starts killing. And so we get introduced to one of our main protagonists, who is Broom, who gets the job of being the new writer of the astrological column. And then he has to go to the guy who's just been murdered, his apartment, to get his notes to start writing. And that is where all of this complex, purposefully convoluted plot starts and kicks into another gear, when he starts meeting people who are going through his apartment, trying to find something, trying to find a story that he was working on, that the guy who died was working on. And instantly he gets pulled into this intricate plot, and nothing is quite as it seems, really. People are still being killed left, right and centre by what is seemingly the Gull Street Ghoul back again on the killing spree. And ultimately, Broom gets wind of this and he says, no, I don't want nothing to do with that, I'm not getting killed. But then he gets employed by someone to try and find the manuscripts and work that one of the journalists had been writing and had been taking and researching. And so he gets well paid and he starts off on his journey. But equally, as you can imagine, he gets pulled and pulled into this world of intrigue. He finds secret societies, strange mediums, outsider artist groups, covert French agents doing various things, and yet it gets so ridiculously complex, but it never ever gets annoying or boring. All it gets is more and more interesting. The further you go in, the more characters that are introduced, the more the plot gets convoluted, the more enjoyable it becomes, which is a really hard thing to achieve, I think. It's got that nature of farcicality to it, which is great, because it never takes itself too seriously. The main character is constantly questioning, what the hell am I doing here? What is going on? What next? But again, he's still on a path that he can't really slow down. And the deeper he goes, the more into this whole world that he doesn't really want to be in, he becomes a part of. Eventually, he gets given the job of finding the Chuckling Whatsit. This MacGuffin of sorts, I suppose you would call it, that a lot of people in the story want to try and find. And again, the journalist before him had done some investigations into the artist that hung himself on the opening pages, and he was then on the hunt for this Chuckling Whatsit. Out of all of these little characters that he's made, there's one that when you touch it or when you move it in a particular way, it makes a sound like it's laughing. Fans of this outsider artist want it. Secret societies want it because they think it'll bring something else. Other people want it, and everybody kind of starts searching for it. But none of them want it for the same reasons, really. And the reasons that a lot of them want it, you will never get and you will never see coming. And that's part of the intrigue, is you've got so many branches going off here, and Broom being that main guy who is very kind of deadpan, very intelligent in his own way. You know, he gets beat up and gets kind of pushed around tons and tons, but he kind of is a good, solid investigator, right? But he never really gets ahead of the story. He's always on the back foot. He's always trying to peel back, okay, what just happened to me? And people are explaining to him. And it really is a proper, fun, detective, investigative drama, and absolutely ram-packed with farce, horrific kind of brutality, but the way it's drawn and depicted, it never comes across as insanely brutal. It comes across as, again, funny. But this book is such a breezy, easy, straightforward read, and all of the characters, even when they're introduced, you think, oh, not another branch going off, what's going on? But then instantly, before you know it, you don't care, you're interested in that other branch. And that's what it does expertly well, I think, is that it introduces all of these things, but you never really get annoyed with it. You always get suckered into just continuing on that path with Broom and going through his journey through all of these different characters to try and find the Chuckling Whatsit, to try and find if the Gull Street Ghoul has come back and is murdering, who these French people are, who this secret society is, what happened to that artist back 15 years ago. All of these things all keep piling up, but centrally they all kind of revolve around the same mystery as you go forward. It's drawn absolutely beautifully from start to finish. The artwork I do love. It is creepy and weird and wonderful and funny and amusing and just intriguing in general, I find. There's not really a page that's boring. There's not a character's face that's boring. They're all quite unique and different. There's even some characters with like kind of double noses and weird stuff like that, and mental teeth and hair over their eyes. It's full of really strong character design. And I love how deep the blacks are and how sharp the kind of whites are as well, because it makes it kind of look like it's almost woodblock prints. It almost looks like it hasn't been done by hand at all. It almost looks like it's been printed by etching on a woodblock and things like that. I love it. I love the style of this book so much. It's a super fast read. It's about 180 pages. The hardback itself is the same size as your standard size trade paperback and all that type of thing. It comes with a dust jacket, but underneath it's got these nice plain blue boards with RS and then the title down the side. Sewn binding, matte paper, so no glossy paper, which again fits the story beautifully. But this is one of those stories that I could never even hope to get across the plot line at all, really. And so I'm not even going to try to get it across because it is so complex, but it's so much fun. And this is the first of many Richard Sala books that I'm going to jump into, because I feel like I've really found someone who is a really easy, fun, straightforward read, but that's interesting and doing interesting things with the medium as well. But yeah, that is my look at Richard Sala's The Chuckling Whatsit, the hardcover edition by Fantagraphics. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.